folks. Welcome back to Woody's Corner. Doing some more cooking. We're actually doing quite a bit of cooking this weekend, or I am. So, yesterday I was working on the new brisket chili recipe, which I posted. And then today I'm actually going to work on some pastrami, some homemade pastrami, curing it for 6 days and then smoking it next week, next Saturday. And we're also going to do, the homemade sauerkraut. Been wanting to do that. So let me turn this around. So for the pastrami, these are all the ingredients. Of course, the recipe will be in the description. I've watched different videos, people doing stuff. So anyway, I'm going to take a stab at this one. And we've got a 6.6 pound brisket flat, and all the pickling spice stuff, the sugars, the salts, and even the pink curing salt here, and some cinnamon. So we'll get things started over here in a pot. Got a gallon of water in there, and I'm gonna start bringing that to a boil and start adding all the ingredients here. And then what we'll do is we'll use our brine bucket down here to put all that in. I've got some ice, so I'm actually going to put about a half of my large bag of ice in there, about almost 10 pounds. Once the pickling spices have boiled, and I'll pour all that in there to cool it down, and then we'll put the meat in. So I'll walk you through it. Before I do that, just a quick run around the room. For the sauerkraut, I'm going to basically use these. That's what they're for. They're fermenting quart jars for just that. Of course, you can ferment just about anything in it. We're actually going to do some pizza tonight. So if you've watched any of our pizza videos, this is actually the Carlo's dough ball. I made one today, broke it in half because we're going to do it on 12-inch pans today in the actual pizza oven. And then I'm going to do 4 of these uni rolls. And we'll do just some different types of pizzas. I'm actually going to do a shrimp pizza. Of course, we'll have a pepperoni pizza. And then a couple of the other ones that have various ingredients. So with that, let's get back to our pastrami. For the seasonings, some of the videos I watched were interesting, where they actually took, the coriander seed, whole peppercorn, and mustard seed, and then kind of smashed it up like in a towel, and, with something like this, and then toasted it. And I thought about doing that, but I'm not going to today. But that's a nice extra little thing. And then really I ended up actually just buying this great value Pickling Spice, and I just noticed it kind of had everything that the recipe called for, except it didn't actually have the whole peppercorn, but you could see it had pretty much everything else, including the red pepper flakes. So what I did is I put it all in here. I basically did 4 tablespoons of this, and then I did the 5th tablespoon of the black peppercorn. So I'm adding that. Got the whole cloves, and then a teaspoon each of the ground mace and the ground ginger, and then a few bay leaves. And then on the cinnamon stick, I did crush that, get that opened up. So we'll dump that in the boil here momentarily. But so we're all set. We got our sugar and the salt, and then the pink curing salt all ready to go. So basically I'm going to get this turned up and dump all this in. Got it all in there, mixed up. Looks like everything's melting down as far as salts and sugars. So getting ready to start prepping the brine bucket here momentarily. There we go, got the ice in there. Time to dump the mix, the boiling mix in. And now the mix is in there, cooling down rather quickly, so I'll give it a couple minutes, but I'm ready to put the brisket in. Well, that's it, just a real easy preparation to get a mix going, get it chilled down, get the brisket in there. Of course, I got my little plate down in there that holds it down so it'll stay submerged. And I'm basically going to put this in the big refrigerator out in the garage for 6 days. Then we'll finish the video off with a smoke. This is day 3. It's actually Wednesday afternoon. I put these in Sunday afternoon. And you can see the one has a little bit of action coming out of those special events. Not so much on that one. And if you watch, you can see some bubbling action. Here and there. Well, I did a second ago. Maybe the video is not picking it up. Oh, there went a bubble. So, I'll have to check on it here each day and just see if a little bit more bubbling action takes place, but so far so good. Well, here we are on Saturday, still working with the pastrami. We're going to be smoking it today. So we put it in the brine last Sunday. It's been in there a full 6 days, and so we're about to pull it out. And basically we'll get it all dried off. Well, we'll rinse it off first, dry it off, put a little mustard on each side, and then we'll be coating it with the crushed peppercorn, coriander seed mix, which is in the recipe that you'll see. I use this little grinder in a coarse grind mode to grind up the coriander. I already had some coarse ground pepper, so it's a 1/4 cup of each, the pepper and the coriander seeds. You can toast that if you choose to. I'm not going to toast it, but it's another little technique you can do. So I'm getting ready to pull the brisket out of the old brine bucket down here. But before I do that, because I got about 30 minutes before the smoker's ready, I'm going to be smoking it at 250. But why don't we run downstairs and take a look at the other recipe that we have going, which is the homemade sauerkraut. So let's go see how that's doing. That's been in the fermenting jars since Sunday as well, and been seeing a lot of good bubbling action all week. So, but I hadn't looked at it in the last couple of days. So let's go take a peek. We obviously won't have the sauerkraut ready today. This sort of a trial run on both. But by the time that's ready, because I was going to originally go 5 weeks. I might just do 3 to 4 weeks. We'll see. But we'll probably do another pastrami when we get out then and later in February. And so today we'll buy some store-bought sauerkraut and do Reuben's with the pastrami. So let's go see how sauerkraut looks. And there's the sauerkraut doing its thing. That's funny. I've noticed this one jar is steadily kind of vented, which is what those vents are for. Let's have that pressure out. The left one's never actually bubbled out of there, so I don't know if it's just that one had a little bit more liquid in it, maybe, I guess. But yeah, doing their thing. It's about 65 degrees down here, typically, probably 65 to 68 down here. I'm down here in the man cave. So the man cave gets used for music and fermenting things. So there you go. There's the piece of meat. Got the meat side up, fat cap down. Got the coriander pepper mix on it, and it was actually just perfect amount. It was a 1/4 cup each, so 1/2 cup total. And got a nice covering here of that. So I did score, crisscross with a knife on the fat cap side. I used just some mustard, whatever I had on hand. I just had some Dijon mustard to use as a binder. And so, yeah, we're just waiting about 10 more minutes, and we'll stick it on. This thing's going to cook at 250 for 5 hours, and I'm going to foil it. And then from there, I'll turn it up to 300. I use a pellet smoker, and we'll finish it off. It may take another 3 hours, so it's estimated to be about an 8-hour cook. So there you go. Pastrami, About 3 hours in on the smoke here. Getting some nice color built up. Alright, just pulled the pastrami off. It's at the 5-hour mark, so I'm going to foil it. And it's got some good color. So we'll put it back in, turn the heat up from 250 to 300, go another 3 hours or so, until we get to around 200 degrees internal temp. While we're waiting on the meat to come off the smoker, got a couple more hours on that, maybe an hour. But we've got our rye bread here. We've got some Swiss cheese, and I'm just starting to make the little dressing. So I'm going to use some of these nice pickles that we got that our neighbor canned or jarred. Got that for Christmas. Thank you, Sherry Thomas. Just kind of going to start with some mayo. There's a little bit of a ketchup, but I'm going to add a little bit of this Rendezvous barbecue sauce too, just to give it a little twist of difference. Then we got our lemon juice, Worcestershire, and then of course we had to buy the store-bought sauerkraut. Now we're making our own sauerkraut, and we'll use that on a future run of this pastrami after we get through this first one in a few weeks, I guess. So it's coming together. All right, the pastrami tastes like pastrami. It's really good and nice and tender. Got it all cut up. We've got our master chef over here that's going to prepare the sandwiches. So we've got our special dressing, and the dressing's really tasty. Cheese, kraut. Next time it'll be the homemade kraut. This is store-bought. Lots of butter. Butter in the pan. So this is the Reuben. Might be the best Reuben we've ever had.
Never have too much butter in this. Beautiful.
It's looking good. We're going to have a little Caesar salad with the Reuben tonight. Got our probiotics. Yeah, the meat's got a really good taste. So it was more of a 7-hour cook. I started to temp a little bit higher at more like 208, and I wanted to be at 200, so I wanted to get it off, but seems to be fine. And this concludes the video on how to make pastrami and then make Reuben. Of course, next time we'll have the homemade sauerkraut. We're looking forward to that. All right, I've already plowed through my sandwich, and it was so good. I mean, from the first bite, it was just so tender. It was amazing, and all the flavors worked together. What afterwards, I was like, well, I think I might cut the fat off. I ate it, and it was fine, but you got the fat with all the pepper and the coriander, the rub, and it could be a little bit strong, but it was good. But yeah, I might trim that off and just have more of the meat. What do you think, Sherry?
Yeah, it was very tender. It's a lot of meat when you're used to having a Reuben with meat from a deli. So this is thick sliced. So I was full after half a sandwich.
And definitely much more tender than
Yes.
your normal
Yes.
deli experience with the Reuben.
Yeah, it was
I mean,
very good.
it was amazing. I mean, it was just succulent. Oh, yeah. So we're looking forward to doing more of this, and then we're looking forward to the homemade sauerkraut to complement it. But it was a great recipe. Check out the recipe in the description and enjoy.